Hello, guys. Welcome to my first live show on Red Devil's Disciples. I don't know if anybody's watching, but who cares? This is a practice for me, and hopefully there will be people joining at some point. Right, so first of all, a little bit of a rant over here. I'm sure everyone's seen the news, and just another big problem for Eric Ten Hag to deal with Marcus Rashford and the issues that have been happening lately. So allegedly, what's happened is Rashford obviously got dropped from the Newport game. What was reported by the club on the website was illness, and that's the reason why initially he wasn't in training on Friday. During the press conference on Friday, again, Eric Ten Hag did say that Rashford had reported ill today, which was why he wasn't in training, so it was a doubt for the game. Since then, images and videos have come out where he's been seen in Ireland, in Belfast, on a night out. Initially, it was reported that it was on the Wednesday, which was the day off that he had, and it was all okayed by the club. You know, he went up there to support a friend of his, which was Rashford Williams, who played in the Man United Academy and was part of the club till 2019. Went up there, showed him some love. You know, they went out partying on the Wednesday. On the Thursday, he went to his club, which is Lawn Football Club. So it was sort of celebrating the fact that he had just signed a contract over there. And then he called in sick on the Friday. Now, obviously, it was one of those situations where Rashford was reported that it was only the Wednesday night he had gone out, so no problems there at all. Following this, what ended up happening is videos and images were all released stating that Rashford had been out partying until hours just before training. And it was one of those situations where obviously he then got dropped from the game on Sunday. And it's subsequently come out that he's been fined 2 weeks' wages, which is about 600k for Marcus Rashford. Loving the love, guys. Thank you. Appreciate those of you that are on. But obviously, in every press conference since, all that Eric Ten Hag has said is it's an internal matter and it's being addressed. United today released a statement saying that Marcus has taken responsibility for his actions and has been dealt with in an internal disciplinary matter, which is now closed, and he will be available for selection on Thursday. Now, I think we need to go back to when this all started happening with Marcus. I think it's more than just a problem that's recent. If you look at him, we've had a few incidents recently. He was fined last year for lateness, and yes, it was something ridiculous, like it was a minute late or something like that, and he got fined for it. But then he was also caught with and videos and images of him partying after the Manchester United derby, which we got absolutely battered by City, and he just was out partying. And then obviously he's now been found to be partying hours before training, and not just partying out at nightclubs, you know, and this is becoming a more apparent thing with Rashford. How I feel hurt. I feel a bit angry at him. I think this guy needs to understand that we as fans would give anything to have the lifestyle that he has, to live what he does. Like, take it a step further. Most of us who are athletes or have been athletes in the past would give anything to play professional sports and make a living out of it. This guy not only is making a living for it, he's playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. He's securing the future of his family. He's building generational wealth off the back of Man United. And he cannot even be professional enough to turn up to training on time and not be out partying the night before. Now, focusing on Rashford himself, his boyhood dream was to play for Manchester United. He's achieved that boyhood dream. And let's clarify something. Rashford earns more than 99.9% of football players. So it's not just his boyhood fan dream of being a Man United player. He's in the top 1% of the top 1%. He's also one of the biggest earners at the club. So the expectations on him are going to be a lot higher than the expectations of some of our youth players. And the minimum that we'd expect from him is just professionalism. And again, I go back to, he's just been handed a 5-year contract of £300,000 a week to party the night before training and miss a game in the FA Cup 4th round. Why? It's just unprofessional, and it just seems like it's part of a much bigger systemic problem at Manchester United, where we've seen in recent years issues where we're talking about Greenwood and the debacle that happened over there. If we're talking about Ronaldo and him coming back and then coming out on Piers Morgan and just sort of You know, he said a lot of truths, but he did it in a complete wrong way. You're talking about Sancho and being unprofessional, game until 4 a.m, then turning up to training half asleep and then being dropped because of it. You're talking about all the leaks in the changing rooms. It's much of a bigger, it's part of a much bigger problem. And the leaks in the changing rooms are ridiculous. Things like players not being happy about the running they're supposed to be doing. Things like players not being happy about the treatment of other players within the club. Well, you're an employee of the club, and you need to understand that you're not here as a favor to us. We pay you to be here. Or the club pays you to be here, should I say. And the big scary thing about this is it's repeated patterns again. You look at Manchester United in the past with previous managers, we've seen the same thing happen under Mourinho, where the players sort of gave up and almost sabotaged them towards the end. Don't get me wrong, Mourinho did a lot to sabotage himself towards the end of his career at Man United, but the players sort of gave up on him. And then they did the same thing to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Ole was their friend, and they still gave up on him. They still sabotaged him. They stopped running for him. They stopped tracking back. They stopped showing a heart, stopped showing anything, any interest at all in terms of the performances they were giving. And then Ragnick came in, and they treated him like the substitute teacher. You know, the guy came in and said the club needed open heart surgery from top to bottom, talking about not just players, but the structure within the club themselves. And again, they treated him like substitute teacher, and they just didn't run for him. And he talked about it nonstop, and now they're trying to do it to Erik ten Hag. And the thing is, as Man United fans, we are sick and tired of seeing the same players that did it to all those managers are now trying to do it to our current manager. In terms of what I actually think and what I really want to see is Ineos come out and show a little bit of strength here, back the manager publicly. You do that, these players are then, out there causing issues, all of a sudden are not in a strong position anymore. Now, am I saying offer the manager a 5-year contract? Absolutely not. I'm saying publicly back the manager. If you want to give him another year because he's got 1 year to run left, then give him another year. I'm not suggesting we do give him a long-term contract, because this manager also needs to prove himself and prove his worth at the same time. The problem that we have is that we've set it up to fail. And I quite frankly, honestly believe it doesn't matter which manager we have in the club at the moment. They will always fail. There is no support structure at Manchester United. We've been run by business people, and nobody that knew about football was there to help the managers. Now, that is starting to change with Ineos now. We've recently had a new CEO put into place. We've had new board members coming in. There's talk of a sporting director coming in soon in the next 2 weeks. And I will obviously do a video on all of that. But as it stands, the pressure is building on Erik ten Hag. Guys, I'm going to keep this one really short and sweet. It's my first live. I'm really not sure what I'm doing. Obviously, we've got big games coming up in terms of Wolves, West Ham, and Aston Villa. Now, this is going to be a real test. If it's a case where these players have really given up on the manager, as the leaks are suggesting, and that he's lost the dressing room, we will see it in the next 3 games. And that could spell the end of Erik ten Hag, even though, personally, I am ten Hag in, and I am firmly ten Hag in, no matter what you guys say. Steve-O, Nick, you guys over there, I see you. Banny, yeah, all of you guys. I am very much ten Hag in, and I will continue to be ten Hag in. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, it's my first live stream. I'm going to keep it nice and short and sweet. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Have a lovely day, guys. Have a good evening. Please, if you're not, share. If you're not already, subscribe, share, like, turn on notifications, and hopefully see you on the next one. Bye-bye.